Welcome to the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Ferguson, and I am your host. I'm a house flipper. I flip 10 to 15 houses a year. I own 13 rental properties with a goal to buy 100 by 2023. I'm also a real estate agent. I've been licensed since 2001. I run a team of 9. We sell close to 200 houses a year. So on this show, we like to interview house flippers, landlords, and the best real estate agents in the business. So stay tuned for some great shows. If you want more information on my rentals, on the numbers, how I buy properties, check out InvestFourMore.com. Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with InvestFourMore. Welcome to another episode of the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. Today, I'm going to going over the main reasons people fail in real estate. I do not like to use the word fail because I think it can bring a negative connotation about how successful you are. My definition of fail is when you give up and stop trying. So I'm going to talk about why people do that, why they never buy a house, why they never find success in real estate, and some things you can do to prevent that. Hopefully get through that and make sure you are not one of the many people who want to invest in real estate but never, ever actually end up doing it. So before I get started, I just want to say welcome a lot of new people to the site, to my coaching programs. We had a really great Black Friday sale, did a huge discount, had a lot of new people join up. So welcome to you guys. If you guys are interested in my coaching programs at all, I do run sales once in a while. You can always email me to see if we have any currently going on, mark@investfourmore.com. And a couple of my programs come with conference calls and unlimited email coaching with me. So if you're interested at all, you can check out my resources page or email me, like I said, and I can get you some more information. All right, so a lot of people are scared of real estate. It's kind of like, and it reminds me of the Bitcoin craze right now. And I fell into that trap too, where there's so many people posting about Bitcoin and saying, oh, it's a huge bubble, it's going to crash, it's a Ponzi scheme. And I guarantee 90% of those people have no idea what Bitcoin is, what blockchain technology is, or how it works. They just assume because prices are up, because it's a new technology, because it's gone up so fast, it has to crash. It has to be a disaster. And it could be. I'm not saying one way or another. I am not an expert in Bitcoin. It is really interesting technology that could change our entire world, depending on how it all progresses. But you should not put down something because you don't understand it or because everyone else is saying it's horrible. And that's what happens with real estate all the time. So when you hear people say, oh, my cousin's uncle's brother, bought a house once and lost all this money and real estate's horrible, investing is horrible. They have no idea about investing in real estate. They have no idea what's involved. They have no clue. It's hearsay. It's 3 stories deep about what really happened. And so when you hear about all these people who fail in real estate or how bad of an investment real estate is, consider the source. Make sure you're doing the research yourself and looking into it yourself. Don't just believe your friends or family because that's easier. You don't have to spend as much time looking into it yourself. Just say, oh, yeah, they said it's bad, so I'm not going to do it. So first thing, obviously, I'm going over right now is your attitude going into real estate has to be positive. If you want to be successful in real estate, if you want to buy houses, you want to invest in real estate, you can't go into it thinking, oh, this is going to be a horrible investment. I'm probably going to lose everything, or, oh, I'm never going to buy a house, maybe I'll get lucky, but chances are I'm never going to actually buy a house or do anything, but I'll look into this. Or maybe you're like, well, maybe in 10 years I'll end up buying something. I'm just going to do a little bit of research right now. If you want to be successful in real estate, you've got to go into it believing, hey, I'm going to take a certain amount of time to learn about it, maybe a couple months, whatever it is, a year. I'm going to buy a house my first 6 months or my first year and a half, and then things are going to build exponentially from there. You need to start with a plan about how things are going to go, how they're going to work, and be positive that you're actually going to do it and have confidence in yourself that you're actually going to do it. If you go into it thinking you're going to fail, you are going to fail most likely at anything in life. If you go into it thinking you're going to fail, you're not going to be successful, you're probably not going to be successful because you're going to expect not to be successful. And when things don't go perfectly right away, you're like, oh yeah, see, I knew it. I knew this wouldn't work. I can give up now. So a lot of people who fail at real estate, who don't become investors, who never buy a house, simply don't have the right attitude. They have it in their head that it's not really a good investment, but they're going to check it out, or maybe it's just, it's not for them, but they're still going to, make some kind of an effort to make it look like they want to be an investor, or maybe they've always just kind of sort of wanted to be an investor and they need to give it a chance to satisfy some inner thoughts in their head, but they aren't really giving it all. So if you want to be successful in real estate, you have to go into it with goals, a positive attitude, and confidence that you're actually going to do it. And that will make you so much more successful than most people right off the bat. So first things first, make sure you have the right attitude if you want to be an investor, if you're not already an investor. Because if you don't, you're probably going to be one of those people who want to invest in real estate and never do. And I have tried to find statistics that show how many people start the investing process but never buy. But I don't know how they would keep track of that. It's not like they have, surveys out there asking the entire world, who wants to be a real estate investor and who actually buys houses. But I would estimate, probably 90% of people who want to be real estate investors never actually buy an investment or invest in anything. Along the way, something happens that causes them to fail, to give up, to do something else. And it doesn't always happen right away. It could be years before you buy your first investment or start getting, investing in real estate. But I don't think you actually fail until you give up. If you keep trying, if you keep learning, if you keep experiencing, your local market and what's happening around you with the idea that you want to invest, you haven't failed yet. You fail when you give up. So that's something else to consider. Is a lot of people take a very long time to buy their first investment property or wholesale a dealer or whatever they're doing. It does not happen right away. And that's another thing that causes a lot of people to fail. Is they get started in this business, they think it's going to happen in a couple months, and those 2 months go by and they realize, wow, I still don't know a whole lot about this business. There's so much going on, and they kind of give up. They let it, maybe they don't give up, but they just kind of put less time into it, get focused on other things. All of a sudden, oh, that was kind of fun when I tried that, but I'm going to move on to something else. It can take years to invest in a house, which is very scary for people. A lot of people don't have that patience. But it took me that long. I was a real estate agent. I had been flipping houses with my dad. I knew I wanted to buy rental properties probably 2 years before I bought my first rental. It took me a very long time to do it, and I was immersed in the industry. And the reason it took me so long was I had to save money, which is a huge, issue for many people. I had to save that down payment. I had to convince myself of the right investment, that I was making a good choice, that the cash flow was there, that I was getting a good deal. I had to convince myself that I could rent it, that the rents were right, that I wasn't completely overshooting what the property would rent for. And eventually, I got over all of those fears. I ended up refinancing my house. I had the cash, and I bought a property. And it was scary, the first one I bought, but I did it. And it was one of the best investments I've ever made. Obviously, our market helped out a ton, but I bought that house for $96,000 in 2010. It rented for $1,100 right off the bat. I think I put like $2,000 of work into it and need almost nothing. And right now, that house rents for, it's either $1,400 or $1,500 a month, and it's worth $280,000. Now, you can't expect your market to explode like ours has. That was crazy anomaly that happened here. But even if our market had not exploded like that, I got a really good deal on that house. It'd probably be worth at least $150,000 right now if we just had normal or even really stale growth over the last 7 years. So just getting over that fear, that hump, helped me buy that house, and it took me a long time. So if you're getting into real estate, if you want to start right off the bat, go gangbusters. Yes, it's possible to start right away, start buying houses quickly, but it could also take a long time. Depending on your market, your money, your attitude, it may take much longer than you think it will to actually become a, quote, real estate investor. So I think that's another huge hurdle that many people cannot overcome, is it just takes so long and they get bored or they get frustrated and they give up. And something I like to think about with my investing in life in general is when I bought my first property, which was, 7 years ago now, which seems crazy. That doesn't seem like that long ago. 7 years ago does not seem like a very long time. It seems like a couple of years ago. And time goes by pretty fast for all of us. So 2 years right now might be like, oh my God, that's an eternity. I can't wait that long. But those 2 years will come up very fast. And if you just get to work, get started, go through the process and stick to it, you will be an investor. You will be able to buy that house. And even if it does take you 2 years, how happy are you going to be 2 years from now when you're like, man, I'm so glad I stuck with it. I'm so glad I went through the process. I'm so glad I didn't give up. Yes, it took me a while, but man, I'm here. It's happening right now. I've done it. And it really didn't seem like that long. And then once you buy that first property, things can go so much faster. You know the process. You get over a lot of those hurdles about fear. It really helps the whole mindset buying that first property. So definitely time is something that causes a lot of people to fail in this business. But you just have to be realistic about how much time it's going to take, be prepared for it to take a while, and then have the right attitude when things don't go as quickly as you want, and just don't give up on it. So that's a huge one, and make sure you're prepared for it. Make sure you have the right attitude about, investing in real estate in general. All right. So another big reason that people fail, never buy real estate, is something we've talked about already, money. This is one that was tough for me. It's tough for a lot of people, whether you want to flip, whether you want to buy rental properties, even wholesaling takes money. There's so many gurus out there advertising how to get rich quick in real estate with none of your own money, no credit, nothing, and they're trying to push wholesaling. It still takes money to wholesale. You're going to have to market to people. You're probably going to have, some earnest money. You're going to need some money, and you're going to have to put a ton of work into it as well, finding deals. It's not easy to be a wholesaler, but you can do very well with it, but just realize it takes a lot of work, and it does take some money. When you're buying rental properties, it can take 20% down, sometimes less if you're buying as an owner-occupant, but it does take money to buy them. When you're flipping houses, it can take money. Yes, there are hard money lenders, there are private money lenders who will lend you most of the costs on a flip. There's a lot of hard money lenders out there who will do 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the repairs. That's great. You still need money. And those lenders want to see you have money too. They don't want to see you put your last dime into that 10% down payment and have nothing left over to fix up the house. Even though they're financing some of those costs, you usually have to pay them up front and they will reimburse you with draws. It's not like they're giving you all that money up front. So you have to have money to flip. You have to have money to buy rentals. You need less to wholesale, but you still need money to wholesale. And most people simply do not save money and they spend too much. And that's another reason people never buy real estate. Or another reason they never get into the business is because they never are able to save the money to make it happen. And it's not rocket science. There's simple ways to save money. And it all comes down to spending less than you make. And that's really hard for a lot of people. So many people live paycheck to paycheck. And then, there's always something in the back of their mind they wanted to buy. Or there's something they want to treat their family or friends or spouse to when they get a little extra money. And it's just really hard for people to save. But if you want to be a real estate investor, you want to buy houses, you have to save money. You just have to do it. The more you save, the more successful you'll be. And if you can't save money, it's going to be really, really, really hard to make it in this business. I know there's so many places out there that say you don't need money, you don't have to save money. It's almost impossible. I mean, it's possible, but it's really, really hard to do it without money. So the more you can save, the better off you'll be. I have a bunch of articles on how to save money, but really it comes down to just taking the time to learn how to save money. Just like you take the time to learn how to invest. You take the time to learn how to do whatever job you're doing. You take the time to learn how to be a good parent. Take the time to learn to save money. There's so many sites out there that can help you save money. So many people out there who can help you save money. I'm not a huge fan of Dave Ramsey, but he has a really good savings program. I think his investing ideas are a little off base, but he has a program to help you save money. You just have to make yourself do it. You have to budget. You have to take the time, and you just have to force yourself to save. There's some really interesting statistics about people saving money, housing net worth. I just wrote an article about if buying a house is a good investment, because so many people out there are talking about how renting is the way to go. Buying a house is too expensive. You save more money by renting. There's a study that came out that said renting is better But that study had a lot of really bad assumptions in it that I wrote about. One being, if you rent a house, you put all the money you save into the stock market, invest every single dime you save into the stock market. And the study even said, in theory, this makes renting cheaper and the better option. But in reality, people don't do it. They will spend their money. They don't save it. So we actually still think people should buy houses because it's a forced savings plan. People have to put money into the down payment. They pay a mortgage every month. The mortgage gets paid down. The house slowly appreciates. The number one source of net worth for most Americans is their house. It's not investments. It's not the stock market. It's their house because it's a forced savings plan where they have to save money. That just shows people have to make sacrifices. They have to change. They have to be able to save to get ahead in life. And that's why so many people are kind of stuck, not getting very far because they won't save. They spend all their money and they don't get anywhere. So that's another thing you have to be able to do is save money. You have to save money, have to save money, have to save money. Can't say it enough. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's not easy to do. Like I said, cut back on expenses, budget, figure out ways to make more money. There's all types of businesses that can be started, asking for a raise at work, all types of things you can do. You just have to put some effort in it, some time into it, plan it, and figure it out. So there's a lot of things you have to do if you want to be an investor. But even if you never buy a house, if you're saving money, obviously that's a good thing. You can invest it in something else. So whether you invest in real estate or not, you should be saving money. That's just it. That's just how to make your life better, your investments better, and your future better. All right. Another reason people fail in real estate is they simply don't educate themselves enough. They don't do the research. They don't learn what they need to learn to be successful. And there's a lot of things to learn. It can be overwhelming trying to figure out all the different ways to invest in real estate, all the different, things to figure out. But really, you don't have to know everything before you buy. You don't have to know the entire business. I still am learning myself. But you need to know some basics. And some of those basics I go over in many other articles in my coaching programs and other stuff. But the number one thing you should know is the market you want to invest in. If you're investing locally, if you're investing out of state, wherever you're investing, you need to know that market as well as you possibly can. I have had a lot of people come to me and ask me what a house is worth, or is this a good deal? And I don't know that. I have my complete blueprint for coaching or for successful real estate coaching program. And one of the only people who ever asked for a refund in the history of having that program came up to, he emailed me. He's like, "Hey, Mark, is this a good deal?" And he told me what he's buying it for. He told me what he thought the rent was. And that's it. And he gave me a link on Zillow. I'm like, okay, I don't know your market. Are you getting this below market value? What's the ARV? What's the after repaired value when you fix it up? What are similar houses selling for? Is this rent accurate? Have you checked out the rent? And I asked him these questions and he says, well, I don't know. I just want to know if it's a good deal or not. And I said, I can't do the work for you. You have to know these things. You have to know what a house is worth after it's fixed up. You have to know what local market rents are, among other things like taxes and insurance and all that. And he simply would not do any work or research. He just said, well, I don't know that stuff. You need to tell me. And I'm like, I can't. And he said, well, I want a refund. I'm like, okay, whatever. But so knowing your market, knowing what houses sell for, what they're worth, what they rent for is probably the most important thing you can do as an investor, because you want to get a really good deal when you buy, whether you're buying a rental, flip, wholesaling, whatever it is. You have to get a good deal. You can't know if it's a good deal if you don't know what the house is actually worth and will sell for. So knowing that is probably the first step. Once you know your market, once you can spot those good deals because you know what they're actually worth, everything else gets much easier. Obviously, financing is important. Property management is important. Finding contractors is important. There's a lot of other things that go into it. But knowing your market is probably the most important. And a lot of people don't ever buy properties because they don't ever really feel confident knowing if it's a good deal or not because they don't know their market. Once you know your market, you have confidence that you know you're getting a good deal. It makes it much easier to buy that house and to start investing. And again, I think if you buy a property and lose money on it, that doesn't mean you failed. That just means you're still in the learning process and education process. I've talked to so many flippers who do a ton of deals on my podcast. or wholesalers or landlords on their first deal, they lost money or they made a bad investment. But they never thought of it as a failure. They thought of it as experience, as an education, as learning from that. It cost them a lot less money than going to college. I can tell you that, at least for most of them, maybe a few. It costs them more. Not every investment will be perfect. Not every investment will be a home run. You might lose money on some, but that doesn't mean you failed. That just means you learned from that experience. And if you keep working and keep buying and keep learning, then it's just part of the business. It's part of growing and becoming smarter and a better person at what you do. So again, when I say fail in real estate, I don't mean you lose money on a deal. I mean you never do it. You never buy or you give up. So make sure you know your market. Back to my original point, that's the number one thing that you can do to educate yourself. All right, other reasons people fail to invest is analysis paralysis. That's a big one. People educate themselves forever. They take years and years and years learning and learning and learning, and they never buy. They never pull the trigger. They never have confidence or keep coming up with excuses for why they should not buy a property or invest. It's not the right time. I don't have enough money. I've got too many things going on with work. My wife isn't, happy with it. There's so many different reasons you can come up with not to buy. And if you focus on those, you're never going to buy anything. I bought my first rental when my wife was pregnant with our twins. So that wasn't exactly the perfect time to buy my first rental property, but I still did it. And I was able to convince her it was a good deal. She supported me. It worked out great. But there's always going to be something in your life going on. There will always be something that will stop you if you let it. Everybody has crazy stuff going on in their life all the time. And if you focus on those things, you won't buy anything. But if you focus on the good things, on the deal, on your life, you can buy it. You can get through it. So one thing I like to tell people when they're stuck in analysis paralysis, they can't buy anything, they can't make themselves move forward, is okay. First off, if you've educated yourself, you know the market, you know what you should do. Write down what type of house you want to buy. Write down how much below market it should be. Maybe it's 20% below market you want to buy a house. Write down how much cash flow it needs to have. Actually write these down on a piece of paper. Don't just think about it. Write them down. Write down, kind of the basic parameters. How old is the house? How much work does it need? What condition is it in? Where is the house located? So write those down for what you want to buy, what you're looking for. Hopefully it's realistic, and look for properties and just make a deal with yourself that says, okay, as soon as I find this house, I'm buying it. I'm not second guessing myself. I'm not going to analyze it anymore. As soon as it meets these parameters or even gets close to it, I'm buying it. That's it. That's the deal I made with myself. So if you make a deal with yourself, you get it in your head that you are buying this house as soon as you find a house that meets these numbers or these parameters, there's no more analysis needed. You've already done the analyzing. Now you just have to find the deal. And once you find it, you buy it. Simple as that. But most people won't do that. They'll still analyze it to death. But still, if you can kind of get that mindset that you're buying it from the beginning, it helps you overcome that fear and that doubt once you see that good deal. Like, oh, why isn't anybody else buying it? I hear that all the time. And sometimes I think that too. Like, well, if this is such a good deal, why has nobody else bought it? Well, there's good deals out there that other people miss, or for whatever reason they don't buy. It just happens. Real estate is not a perfect market where we know what the price is on every property exact, or we know exactly when it's going to sell, or we know how much all the work's going to cost. It's a very inefficient market because there's so many variables, which creates room for deals. So if you see a deal, your gut tells you it's a deal, your head tells you it's a deal, do not second guess yourself by saying, oh, why has nobody else bought it? It's a deal. It's a good deal. And just do it. Just buy it. So that's one reason why a lot of people don't end up investing. But if you make a deal with yourself and know exactly what you're looking for, it makes it much easier. That is for sure. A few other things to think about. If you do buy a house and kind of give up, some reasons people don't continue with it, some mistakes they make, I've made these mistakes myself as well, is kind of accidental landlords. So let's say you buy a house to live in, you want to move somewhere, but you can't quite get the price you want. A lot of people say, oh, I think I'll rent it. They have no idea how to do property management, no idea how to rent a house, no idea how to pick tenants. And it doesn't usually work out well for some reason. So a lot of people become accidental landlords, rent a house to someone they shouldn't have, rent their personal house. It's a nightmare. They don't know how to manage it. It doesn't go well. And they give up on investing, or they tell everybody they know how horrible it is to be a landlord because they rented their house to someone when they had no idea what they're doing. So if you hear about those accidental landlords who are either, talking bad about real estate, or you are one of them and are using, you don't move forward in the business because of your experience with being an accidental landlord, remember, you or those people who are doing it had no idea what they're doing, how to rent a house, no idea how to manage a house. They didn't even know if the numbers were good. Almost all accidental landlords do not get enough rent for the house to cover the mortgage, and all the expenses. They think they are, but they don't know the numbers very well. So remember that for accidental landlords. That is not a good indication of what real estate investing is all about. And something else you see when people buy a house and end up giving up is they try to do all the work themselves. And I did this before. I've talked about it a number of times where I try to do all the work myself on a flip. And it was a very bad idea for a number of reasons. One, I wasn't a professional, so I didn't do great work. Two, it took me forever because I wasn't a professional, so I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning on the job. Three, it took up all my time. So I was stressed out. I was unhappy. I was frustrated. And I wasn't making money in my other business, being an agent or finding new deals. It was just a really bad decision. And a lot of people try to start flipping or buy rentals and go in there and do all the work themselves to save money. And it just gives them this horrible feeling about investing because they spend so much time there, so much harder than they think it is. It takes so much longer than they think it will. And it makes them cringe to even think about trying this again. The best way to invest in real estate is to hire contractors, hire subcontractors, have other people do the work. You're investing in real estate to create passive income or to build a business, and you don't do that by doing all the work yourself. That is giving yourself a job. And most of you already have a job. You don't need a second job. You want an investment. So please do your best not to do the work yourself. Even if you're a contractor and do this professionally, you have to think about the money. Sure, you're saving money doing this, but could you be making more money working for other people doing contracting work and hiring your own subs and different people to do the work on this house? Most likely, yes, because you're in the contracting business, you probably get paid a premium for the work you do, and you probably make money by hiring subs cheaper than you can charge other people as well. That's the business. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how it works. So do that on your own house. Hire the subs, have other people do it, and save money and your own time. Focus on business or managing your, maybe you're at a point now where you can become more of a manager as a contractor and hiring other people instead of doing all the physical labor yourself, which is probably a good idea too. There's just so many things in this business you can do to keep growing and keep getting better. So that's about all I've got for why people fail in this business, why they give up, why they never invest. There's a lot of other small things that go into it, but really the biggest things are money, time, attitude, and fear. And those are some big hurdles to overcome. But if you learn the process, you set goals, you come in with the right attitude, they are overcomable. You can get through it, and you can become successful in this business. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hopefully that helped you out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. If you're on the blog, leave the comment below on InvestFourMore.com. You can always email me too, mark@InvestFourMore.com. And hope you guys have a great holiday season.